Hi, hello, and welcome to Body for Minds. More you, less noise. The podcast for ambitious mums who want a career and life that truly fit them. I'm Katrina, a body awareness and career coach, mother of 3, and here to help you reconnect with yourself, set boundaries without guilt, and move forward in your career on your terms. Let's dive in. Hey, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. We're diving into something that's been on my mind a lot lately, that I think this is going to be a very personal episode. And maybe the questions I've asked myself more these days are on your mind too. So I've been asking myself what kind of world I've brought my children into. Maybe you've asked yourself the same thing. And in the face of everything that's going on, does focusing on our careers, on leadership even make sense? I mean, if you've felt overwhelmed by the state of the world like I've been, and if you've ever thought, how can I focus on myself, on my career, and when everything else feels like it's burning, then this episode is definitely for you. So I want to look at what we can do about these fears, these anxieties that we've got when things are going so terribly wrong globally. But I also want to look at why your ambitions and your career still matter in spite of everything that's going on. I've definitely had moments where I felt that it was too much. I had to turn off the news. I know I'm not alone in this. If you've ever needed to step back from that constant stream of crisis, I really hear you and I feel you. But I also think that when we try to push down those feelings, they don't just disappear. They sit there. They weigh on us. So the first step in dealing with this overwhelm that I took for myself isn't to ignore it. I acknowledge my fears. And I think it's really important that we do that. Acknowledge our fears. So maybe you want to take a moment now or later and ask yourself what's been weighing on you lately. And then don't just look at it from like the macro perspective, but drill down and go deeper. And what is the fear that you have for you, for your loved ones? The aim really is to make those problems as concrete as possible to your life. So to bring them down into an area that you can act upon, where you can do something about it as much as that is possible. And let's take the example of climate change, for example. That's something that worries many of us, right? So what can we do to actually make a difference? We cannot obviously impact our policy as much as we'd like. For our country, maybe more so than for other countries. So government policy, corporate environment impact, global agreements, all of that is out of our control, yes. But within our control are the choices we make at home, reducing waste, make sustainable purchases whenever possible, advocating for policies we believe in, teaching our children the importance of taking care of the planet. These are things that you can do. Beyond the practical actions, another key part of managing these concerns is talking to our children in age-appropriate ways, because children notice when we are stressed or distracted. And if we don't explain what's going on, their imaginations can run wild, and that may lead in turn to them being anxious and acting out. If we can frame our worries in a way that they can understand, it helps them process what's happening and reassures them that they are safe. And while we navigate these worries, it's also a big opportunity to ask ourselves, what really matters? Is it the perfectly clean house, the Pinterest-worthy home decor? Or is it the time we spend laughing with our kids, sharing a meal with our friends, with our family, and finding joy in the present moment? As hard as that sometimes is, it's easy to feel powerless when things just seem too big for us to change. But I do believe that small actions matter. You might not be able to change the whole system, and certainly not overnight. But what you can do in your little corner of the world does matter and makes a difference. You could think of supporting an organization that aligns with your values. Think of volunteering or supporting them financially. But most importantly, try to stay connected with a community that lifts you up. Because community is everything. You're not alone in these feelings, And sometimes just talking about it, sharing your fears, can make all the difference. So reach out, connect, and don't be afraid to take a break from the chaos when you need to. I really wanted to address those fears, those worries first before now moving into why your career still matters and why your ambitions still count. Firstly, let's acknowledge that holding down a job is not just about ambition. For many of us, it is a necessity, especially with rising costs of living. Whether you work because you have to or because you choose to, your career should be something that supports you, not just financially, but emotionally. At the very least, it should not drain you. If your job is draining you and you're worried constantly about what's going on in the world, you will be exhausted by the end of the day, not even mentioning the small things that you have to deal with to support your kids, to help them thrive. But one thing you can do about your job, if it's more draining than bringing you joy, is job crafting. This means shaping your role to make it more fulfilling, more in alignment with you, with your strengths, and the things that you love about your work. You can find ways to grow within your current position. And for those who want to rise in their careers, stepping into leadership roles can bring both personal empowerment and practical benefits like more money. But you know why this is more important now than ever? Because we do not need more women retreating into the background. In many places, we're seeing a push to reinforce traditional gender roles, to keep mothers unpaid, unseen, overworked, and undervalued. But history and research tells us that societies thrive when women are fully included. Economies grow when we lead, and workplaces get better when mothers bring their strengths, resilience, and perspective to the table. So when you pursue your career, when you step into the leadership position that you've always wanted, you're not just advancing yourself, you are creating space for the next generation, you're shifting workplace culture, you're making change, and that in itself is a form of activism. So if you've been feeling anxious and stuck, if you've been wondering whether your ambitions still matter, I want to tell you this: they do matter. You are not selfish for wanting more. You are not ignoring the world's problems by focusing on your growth. In fact, your leadership, your presence, your voice, it's exactly what the world needs right now. So let's keep going. Let's rise together. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, share this with a friend, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care and remember, more you, not more to do.